from the Crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 96 of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Jason. Tonight, joined by Jody.
Hello.
And Mando.
Hi.
Hi. And we have a very special guest. We have Jonathan from the Crypt Tube YouTube channel. Welcome.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Good. Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be
I
back.
remember which episode you were on before, but it was like season 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was a while ago, man. Like long time. I miss being on the podcast.
Well, we're glad to have you back for something I would only ask a true dedicated Crypt fan to join us for. We're going to be reviewing the kind of sort of Tales from the Crypt movie Ritual. But before we get to that, Jonathan, you had a fun weekend, I saw. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. I just came back from Texas Frightmare, in Dallas-Fort Worth. I had a great time in Irving, Texas. I got to meet John Kassir for the very first time after many years of him being on the convention circuit. He was an absolutely lovely man, very, humble and warm and inviting to his fans and whatnot. He was very accommodating. He recognized me from Crypt Tube, and he was thanking me for the 4K upscales and the Tales from the Crypt PC game information that I put out. So he was amazing, and we did a Q&A during his Icons of Horror panel. He was able to give some information regards to the PC game and as well as the rights issue going on with EC Comics and HBO. So I had that footage on my phone. I'll put that up in a little bit. But overall, the overall experience of going to, by the way, my very first horror convention was amazing. So I am very excited to go and do more.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think any of us have met him. I haven't. At least not in person.
Not in person.
Yeah, he keeps doing the so this weekend is Monster Palooza, and he keeps only doing Friday night, which is like the one time I can't go. My wife usually works. So I'll have to catch him soon. But that's great. I love all the pictures you put up, so people should go check those out. And then is there anything new going on at Crypt Tube you want to announce or update us on?
Well, as far as right now, all the all 93 episodes of the series have been upscaled. Now I'm working on the animated series, getting all the seasons of the animated series upscaled. Aside from that, I'm still working on trying to basically come up with a ironclad system of being able to dole out and pretty much distribute the 4K episodes to all the fans. That way you have it for your own personal private collection. I'm also trying to do it in a way where you guys get to have it, but because I know how this kind of thing would go. Basically, people would take it and upload it themselves, and they get all the views and the notoriety going to them. So I'm trying to make sure that people know that they're getting it from me. So that kind of stuff. But aside from that, that's what I'm currently working on.
Great.
Nice.
All right. We have a couple announcements. We have our weekly announcement that we are sponsored by our friends at Fright Rag. Again, Father's Day is just around the corner, so what better gift to get them than a gift card or a shirt or a sock? And now they just rolled out souvenir cups. Who wants those boring glass one color plastic cups? Now they have souvenir cups with The Crow, Creep Show, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, The Thing, Joe Bob Briggs, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What father? Yeah.
As a man with a lot of kids in my house, plastic cups are actually a great thing to have.
Yes.
We have broken way too many things. So yeah, pro
So,
plastic.
go look at your pantry and see the state of your cups and think, would it be better if I was drinking out of it with Joe Bob Briggs looking at me as I drink?
I always say yes, personally.
Yeah.
Yes. So check those out and make sure you use promo code DADSCrypt10 for 10% off your order, and just to give us just to show that you're a fan of the show. It just gives us a little boost over there at the Fright Rag office.
If you don't use the code, we won't be upset. We won't be mad, but we will be disappointed.
All right. And then a little programming announcement. So next week we will be starting our reviews of Tales from the Crypt season 7, but we've been having so much fun. We're going to stretch this thing out a little bit. We're going to switch things up. We're going to do it so every other week we'll be reviewing a horror anthology. So next week we're doing episode 1 of season 7. Week after that we're going to do a horror movie anthology, which, at least if we stick to our schedule, will be Tales from the Hood. And then the week after that will be episode 2 of season 7. And then we'll do another one. That'll be our format. Because we want to end on a nice high note on this season. But tonight, we're talking about Ritual, which came out September 18th, 2002. Jody, you are the man of the hour. I do not envy you at all.
If I give a quick recommendation, if you are listening to this right now and you're thinking, damn, I should pause the podcast and go watch this movie. Nah,
no,
just listen to Jody. It'll be cool.
Jody explained this movie be much more entertaining.
So I'm gonna start with a spoiler warning. I am planning on talking about this whole movie. So if you do want to see it and Mando's words of warning were not enough for you, I will spoil the whole movie. I'm also going to spoil the podcast right now and tell you I didn't hate the movie. So just now, I'm
all right, Jonathan,
Yeah.
We've got an opening on our podcast.
Well, I mean, this is a man that disparaged the greatness of Halloween Ends.
It's terrible. It's a terrible movie.
It's better than this.
Hey, I did not say I liked the movie. I said I didn't hate it. We'll get into it later. But if it was 2003 and I was walking through a Hollywood video and I picked this up, I'd go away thinking, not bad. So that's where I'm at. That's our starting level here as I begin to describe this.
Okay, I respect that.
All right. So we open on the Jamaican crypt keeper with dreadlocks ogling women in a pool. I will say, is this the same puppet from the show?
No,
because it is stilted. It is stilted, man.
No, definitely not.
It's if you had a crypt keeper head and you were just working the mouth and barely making anything else move, that's kind of what we got going here. That's the vibe of this. But he's staring at a bunch of women in bikinis, as the crypt keeper does. The crypt keeper should not be out in daylight, by the way. That's very wrong, and it doesn't look right. All right, into the actual movie. We started a party at a house. There's band playing, very not Jamaican music, like it's like some kind of like crappy like garage band kind of stuff, and everyone's dancing around, and you got Tim Curry there. His character's name is Matthew Hope. He's a doctor. I will refer to him as Tim Curry through most of the synopsis because he just is Tim Curry. And he's staring at a woman's chest and then watching a woman in a bikini dance. And that's kind of the whole vibe of this first scene. It's just staring at women. When the credits start, I noticed that this is based on the movie I Walked with a Zombie from the 1940s?
Yeah.
I've heard of the movie.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, depends on which version you're watching, if it's the international version or the US version. So my version didn't even have the Crypt Keeper segment. But it did interestingly have a logo for RKO Pictures, which did the original picture. So I'm wondering if there was like a push to promote or redo a bunch of RKO pictures. But
sure. I mean, this is the age of the Dark Castle pictures here in the
Yeah.
early 2000s. So maybe they were going for something like that. I don't know. I have no backstory on this. Like, I don't know if you've researched. I haven't. But I did watch the movie and took notes. So there's a doctor character, and he's a very familiar character actor that we'll get to later. But the doctor is running some kind of test at the request of a woman who doesn't have a shirt on, so it's easy to convince him of things. And after the test is done, the room gets really, really hot, and he melts down to a skeleton. But also that didn't happen. He did die, though. There's going to be a whole lot of scenes where I'm like, and this happens, but actually it didn't, because there's a lot of like fake outs in this movie. So then we have Jennifer Grey, who is unrecognizable because this is after her nose job, and she no longer looks like she did back in her more famous movies like Ferris Bueller and Dirty Dancing. But, you know, she's still Jennifer Grey. And she is a doctor named Alice. She's trying to save a dying kid's life. She asks the head of the department to approve a med, but he won't. And she uses it anyway, and the kid dies. So back at her apartment later, she gets jump scared by the dead kid with sores on his face or her face. But it's just a dream, and her license gets suspended for 2 years for using this unapproved drug. She applies for a hospice type position in Jamaica, and when she gets there, everybody in the entire island of Jamaica is carrying a machete, just everywhere they go. And I went to Jamaica on my honeymoon. It's been 20-something years, but I don't think I remember so many machetes. I mean, maybe I was on the touristy side of things, but everyone, like small children, running around with machetes in their hands.
And they're swinging them like very irresponsibly too. Like
they're not being careful.
We're all just watching them drive by and just swinging them around like you would like a baton or something.
Just whipping these machetes all over the place. There's a guy named JB who picks her up at the airport, and he's driving her there.
Real quick, he like just loses his accent for a second too, and it's kind of funny when he first like says who he is, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's who I am. I'm not a con man." I was like, "What happened to his accent?"
Yeah, I kind of thought he was maybe laying it on thick because he was greeting somebody from America, so he was like extra Jamaican for a little while. I don't know. I don't know if that was intentional or not, or if it's just this movie was not super well made. Could be either. So he stops and talks to his dad along the way. His dad is okay, so let me address this real quick. I'm going to say voodoo priest because that's what we're familiar with, but we're not dealing with voodoo here because voodoo is from Haiti. This is called Obe, but I will probably call it voodoo at least once. But Obe is basically Jamaican voodoo. That's kind of the thing. It's the same kind of system, but it's got its own version here in Jamaica. And his dad's an Obe priest, and there's a lot of really weird slow motion shots of people macheting like for a long time while she's sitting in the car. And they go to the what's that?
See, it's one of those things where like they tried to order 10 machetes for the film, but someone messed up and ordered 100, and they just like, we got to put every one of those machetes on the film.
Give everyone, that's your parting gift as being part of this cast. You can take a machete home.
Machete.
The man who hired her is named Paul, and he meets her on this big plantation. She's there to take care of his brother Wesley, who has some kind of strange disease and thinks he's a zombie. She meets a local woman named Caro, who is going to go with her to see Wesley and wants to sculpt her. She's an artist too. And then at night, Wesley walks out and is put into a car, and Alice is following after him. And when she goes back inside, she's grabbed by some of the servants who tie her up and cover her with CGI spiders. But again, not really. It's all a dream. But there is a Obe charm in her shower, though. And I do want to point out, as we talk about all this, Jennifer Grey keeps her clothes on in this movie, but she did agree to wear the thinnest t-shirts ever and nothing under them, because even though this is the sweatiest movie I've ever seen, everyone is sweating constantly, like dripping, pouring down their head, but she's cold. Let's just say that. She's very cold in all the scenes she's in.
They definitely could not afford a bra for her.
She could not afford one. So she keeps her clothes on, but the next morning she goes to meet Caro, and Caro answers the door butt naked and just kind of walks around her apartment. They go to see Wesley, who we've heard that everybody loves him. Like he's just the best guy and they all love him. But our first introduction to him, he's a dick. Like he's so mean to everybody. He's yelling at all of them.
Even the whole film, I still don't get the appeal. But okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why he's like this supposedly super charming guy, because I don't know. He doesn't have that charisma. But so then she talks to JB again about his father to see if he knows how to make a zombie, because Wesley is convinced that someone is either messing with his mind or that he's a zombie. And so they go to talk to him. And there's randomly a man like in a tree. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah.
Just like standing up against a tree trunk. Weird.
Yeah, it's this movie.
Yeah, and someone does an attack like the traditional voodoo doll thing, but it's not a doll. It's a little smiley face ball that JB had in his car, and they like set it on fire and poke it with stuff, and that causes JB to see CGI tree roots attack him. He almost runs off the road, and Alice blames it on the weed that JB is smoking. And I don't think weed does that. I mean, it does it for me. Like, I've never seen trees attack. I just get sleepy and watch cartoons or something.
I'm sorry, that scene took me out of the whole fucking film. Like obviously she's a doctor, right? And he's having some kind of conniption fit throughout the entire fucking episode. And at the end of it, he comes to a full stop, and her first question is, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Like,
she doesn't check his blood pressure. Like,
that's what doctors say. That's what doctors say when people freak
with
out. They're like, "What's wrong, dude?"
like, I hope that's the next thing. My next appointment with the doctor that I get asked is, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
A lot.
yeah.
So anyway, she asked JB's dad, whose name is Julian, I think. I'll probably call him JB's dad. She asked him for help, but he says he can't because the person who's doing whatever is happening to Wesley is bigger than him. And then he has like a weird vision of the roof collapsing, but it doesn't happen. So Alice wears one of Cora's dresses to dinner that night, and she meets Tim Curry, who needs to be in this movie more because Tim Curry's always delightful, and I'm happy to see him in every scene. So it's a shame that he's not in this as much.
They definitely got him down there for like one day of filming.
Yeah, no,
And
I need
do
more
a couple
Tim
lines.
Curry.
And
Well, and also, so he's supposedly a veterinarian, but he's like part of this like elite class of people.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he used to be a doctor, but now he's doing veterinary stuff. So maybe he
I
got
have
enough
a
money
lot
as
of-
a doctor first. Vets don't make a lot of money. I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and say that. My wife
I-
went to vet school. It's
I
not.
have a lot of questions about that character, but we'll get to it.
I will say with Tim Curry though, like, you know, that man, even when he's phoning it in, like, he's amazing. But
yes,
Yeah, he's like
Tim-
natural.
without question.
His
Yeah,
charisma.
no,
is just-
we said we don't get Wesley's charm, but Tim Curry is charming in everything that he's in. Like as soon as he
Yes.
shows up, I'm like, yes, more of this. But we don't get a whole lot. Wesley shows up to dinner to everyone's surprise, and he's suddenly his charming old self, and he sits by Alice, and everyone sweats a whole lot. And then Wesley plays piano, and everyone says he's doing better than he has in a long time, even though Alice actually hasn't done anything. She just like talked to him once, and suddenly he's doing a lot better. So JB finds the little smiley face thing that was used to do voodoo on him and freaks out. And then Cora does, or Taro, I keep putting the A's and O's in the wrong place. Taro does some wild dance on a table with a random guy, and two guys getting a fight over her.
That is the weirdest and the most uncomfortable scene because like that is like if you ever want to just Google white people dancing, and that's what happened in this scene. And I love how that Jamaican guy is sitting there just looking at it, and he's definitely in his head thinking, "Fucking white people."
Yeah, and he is a giant man. Like he is like 7 foot tall of pure muscle. Like you don't want to take this guy off. But they get in a fight, and during all of this, Alice finds out that Paul is selling the estate. There are some real estate agent people here. Alice tells Wesley he needs to go to bed, and he's like, "You're better mine," and they're flirting, which I don't think this is professional doctor behavior. I think if a doctor is, coming onto their patients, you usually get in trouble for that kind of thing. But she lost her license anyway, so we're already there.
Yeah, she's already besmirched and she's already shamed.
So why not?
Fine.
Why not?
yeah, she fucked around and found out real quick, and then
Anyway, the real estate agents, the husband and wife, I think, or they're a couple of some sort. They're driving home. They get a flat, and the guy goes to fix it, and like gets thrown through the back window. And the woman runs off. There's someone spying on Alice in her underwear, and she kind of gets this weird vibe and goes to talk to Wesley, but can't find him. And JB sneaks up behind her and grabs her and holds her mouth, which is not like how you greet people if you're not trying to molest them or something. But he keeps doing it. There's more than once that he does this.
Oh, when I see you in Tennessee, that's how I'm greeting you, Jody. I'm saying, come
nice.
behind you.
Just come up and grab my mouth.
Yeah.
Don't scream.
Calm down. It's okay.
He did it to me when we met. It was wonderful.
First of all, my head is buried in your chest. You know this.
hey, Jody, is this chloroform?
He knows what it is.
There you
So
go.
JB says he wants to talk to her alone, and you need to leave, and he won't leave. Then he just vanishes. I don't understand why, because she literally turns around like, "Where are you?" It's like a Batman thing. Like he does the whole like turn your back, and he's gone completely.
He just was never there. Nothing.
Never
Nothing in this movie.
addressed.
Nothing in this movie actually happens.
So then Alice and Caro go running together, and Alice trips and almost falls on the dead body of the woman who ran away last night. And in the course of reporting this, she finds out that there was another woman who was found sliced up on the night that the previous doctor died, and Wesley was a suspect. So she's like, what the hell have I gotten into? I want out of here. She goes to leave, but Wesley tells her he doesn't remember things because he has these like blackout episodes, because he used to attend these rituals as a kid that were kind of in control, but they started to get out of control. And so she takes some of his blood to see what's going on with him. As Caro is driving the two of them down the road on a scooter, she starts having visions of a man chasing them and crashes the scooter. And Alice thinks that she and Wesley have the same illness, and it's only affecting people associated with this family, the Claibornes on the plantation. And then we have a scene where they go to the beach and Alice swims in her underwear, but it just kind of happens and then moves on to the next scene.
Yeah.
They get back to the house, and Alice and Wesley go for a walk, and they start to kiss, and then Wesley suddenly starts talking about his mental state and kind of ruins the vibe there. And meanwhile, the guy who Caro was sleeping with earlier in that day gets shot by this superintendent guy. So there's this, I haven't mentioned him yet. There's this man who is the sweatiest man on the planet. Everyone sweats in this movie constantly, but this dude is just like running down his head every second of every moment. And
This is like Shaquille O'Neal level of sweat.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, he's a Kool-Aid man. If Kool-Aid man was filled with sweat.
Yeah.
He's like that heavyset guy in the Coolio Gangster's Paradise video.
Yeah.
He's sweating all over him.
But he's kind of around just doing stuff all the time. He doesn't say a whole lot. He's a big guy. He's sweating constantly. And he just shoots that dude, in plain, I was about to say in plain sight, but there's nobody around, but doesn't make any attempt to be sneaky about it. So later, Wesley goes up to Caro's room with a knife and stabs her, and Tim Curry witnesses this and hides under the bed, and he goes to Alice's room and tries to stab her too. But again, not really. It's all like a vision, a dream, or whatever that Alice is having. Caro's okay. And Alice has like a complete freak out panic. And Tim Curry breaks her out of this episode, but she has kind of like a seizure. So Alice gets the result of the blood test, and it's a virus that has been altered. That's all we know. Some virus has been altered. And then we see Tim Curry talking with Paul and says he was fine with what was happening before, but he isn't okay with what's happening to Alice.
If we'd have had social media back then, people would have been arguing as to whether or not the virus actually existed.
He wants to tell her what she actually has, what this virus is, but Paul says no. And so he calls her to help her understand what's happening. We see him like take a blood sample from a cat. And then that superintendent dude shows up again before Alice gets there. And he says something about how they're all about to be rich. And he stabs Tim Curry's guy with a scalpel and kills him. Carol, Wesley, and Alice find Matthew's dead body. And Wesley finds out from Alice that Paul is selling the estate. Wesley's furious with Paul, but Paul tells Wesley he doesn't need his approval because he has power of attorney because of Paul's mental state as he's been sick. Alice goes to talk to one of the servants named Violet, and they go to JB's dad, Julian, to ask for help since JB is sick too. And he asked if he could make, or she asked him if he could make zombies. He says he wouldn't make zombies, but he could. He knows how. There's a powder used in the ceremony that like infects somebody, but there's another powder that could counteract it. And so the three go to an obey service, and Alice dances wildly around, wildly and nipply, because again, very sweaty, but also very cold, until she has a vision of some kind of snake woman, like for like a half a second. I couldn't even tell exactly what was going on. There's
like
a
her
snake
hair turned
woman.
into snakes or something. I don't know.
No, that's later.
This is the okay. This is the point where I just give it.
This is dancing at the service, and she has this vision and screams, and then she thinks about the cats at Matthew's house for some reason, Like it just suddenly comes to her like cats. And so she runs to the lab and she draws her own blood and starts working to create an antidote because she realizes, I don't know what made her realize this, by the way. Like she's at a service dancing around, and the next thing you know, she's like, aha, I've got it. She finds out that the disease is actually feline leukemia that has been altered to infect humans.
Now, I'm just gonna go on record here. I'm only trying to give this character a little bit more credit than she deserves. I assume it's because of the fact that she is a doctor and she's a little bit more varied in terms of how to diagnose different kinds of diseases between animals and people. I mean, obviously she's not a vet, but at the same time, she must have known, like, oh, well, I saw that there were cats in this man's house and whatnot. Maybe I saw a sign that said FELV, and maybe some blood got transfused, whatever the case may be. But that's as far as I go to give her that kind of credit.
That's a lot of hoops to jump through to get to this.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's just how I try to make it logical.
I just don't know how we get from scene A to scene B. Because scene A, she's like dancing in this church service and getting all sweaty. And then literally the next scene is her having figured everything out. Like there's no space between the two.
I agree.
So it's feline leukemia. It's been altered. Matthew and Paul were working together basically to keep Wesley incapacitated without killing him so that Paul could maintain power of attorney and sell the estate. So this is all just a big scam to basically like Munchausen Wesley so that they can keep power of attorney and take over the estate. So Alice tells Paul that she knows what's going on and that Wesley is going to the courthouse to revoke his power of attorney. But once again, superintendent guy is there and he stops him before he can go inside and doesn't tell him where he's taking him.
Well, point of order. Why would she tell him that before he even gets there so he can give the guy a chance to alert the authorities?
It's always good to warn your enemies when you know their schemes before you take any action. It's always good.
Yeah, it's like courtesy.
I'm gonna take my entire plan before I kill you or stop.
It was almost like a reverse of the Bond villain thing.
Yes,
like I'm gonna tell you where the good guy says this is all the things I'm gonna do to thwart your plan. So the bad guy has a chance to call the chief of police or whoever he is, the superintendent, whatever, and stop Wesley.
Yes, it's a great move. So anyway, then Caro goes looking for Wesley and can't find him, but she hears drums in the distance and says she's concerned. Caro and Alice then go to find the source of the drums, but again, the superintendent is there and he stops them from going through. This dude can just do whatever he wants, despite the fact that he looks like he is close to a heart attack all the time.
I mean,
man,
not to kill the mood, though. He died the year after this movie.
Oh man,
damn, Jason, why would you even tell us
dude?
Oh, sorry.
I'm out here making jokes
really
about this, and you're like, yeah, that man was actually.
He
was sweating because of his
Jody.
illness. You heartless bastard. All right, so he stops them, and so they go through this escape tunnel that they happen to have. But Caro runs out of breath. See, it's all coming together. Alice has been running. She's better shape, even though both of these women are extremely good shape. You can tell that, obviously. But she's just, not as in good shape. So she stops, and Alice goes on her own. JB once again sneaks up behind her and grabs her around the mouth because that's how he greets people. And we see that there's this wild ritual happening in the woods. There's drumming and dancing, and they're going to turn Wesley into a zombie. Paul is there along with some of the servants. Oh, excuse me. And Paul himself blows the powder into Wesley's face, and it causes him to seize up, and they lay him down in a coffin and bury him. So JB joins in the dancing to kind of distract everybody while Alice sneaks around and holds a knife to Paul's neck. And they take the mask off the priestess who's in charge of this whole thing, and it is Caro. She's been the bad guy all along. Shocking. Actually, I honestly didn't see the surprise coming because I wasn't paying enough attention.
Yeah.
If I paid close attention, it may have been telegraphed, but I didn't. I was just watching it. JB gets a vision that he's on fire. Alice believes her hair is attacking her. It's turning to snakes, and so they kind of lose all of the advantages they had. And Caro reveals that she actually is Wesley and Paul's sister. Her father is their father. He had sex with one of his servants, and she had to grow up basically as a servant, even though she should, by all accounts, have been a member of the family. And so she's doing all this for revenge. Their father had their mother killed to hide it, so she has a lot of resentment about all these things. And she's going to have Paul killed and the rest turned to zombies so that she will be the only heir remaining for the property. She was never sick, but she has been intentionally infecting everyone else. Like at one point, Alice got a cut on her arm. Caro helped take care of it, but she also infected her with this disease. She wants Alice to do the job of making JB into a zombie with the powder. And Alice holds out her hand and takes the powder in it. And because these people, I guess, just weren't prepared for her to fight back in any way at all, she, slightly moves her hand to the side and blows the powder in Caro's face instead. It was really preventable, but, these people were confident. JB grabs a machete and fights back anyone who tries to attack, and they dig up Wesley out of the ground. And then we cut to sometime later. In the end, Alice and Wesley are getting married at the estate with all the, good friends and servants still there. And then we find out Caro is also in a bridal gown, dead-eyed as a zombie. It's a gross ending. The superintendent lays her in bed and starts unbuttoning a shirt.
Dude, that
you get the
superintendent
implication. It's gross.
It's terrible. The ending's okay, cool. You as the protagonist, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I'm all for the bad guy getting their just desserts and Tales from the Crypt, but zombification rape is not that's too far, man. That's too far.
And that guy made the weirdest fucking noises too. That was just annoying.
Yeah. So then we get that's the end of the movie. That it does end on that grossness. But there's a post-credit scenes with fake outtakes of the Crypt Keeper farting. I don't even know, man. It's there. It exists. And that's it. That's the movie.
Beans,
You have
man, jerk chicken and beans.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you have experienced Ritual now in some form.
Thank you, Jody. Congratulations. All right, Jonathan, you're our guest. You can start us off. What did you think of this movie?
Is that a serious question?
Yes.
So I mean,
release your hates. Give into it.
No. The fact is when it comes down to the entire Tales franchise, this film, because a lot of people who know about the franchise in terms of the films, they know that this is not a film that was meant for the original slate of the Tales franchise. When it came down to theatrical releases, this wasn't even theatrically released, even in the UK. This was a UK produced film that was just sent straight to DVD, and they slapped the Tales label on it and said we're good to go. And it's definitely a big miss when it comes down to the overall elements of what the franchise normally produces, especially one that stopped in mid '96, came to a screeching halt after season 7, and then with Bordello leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and then you release this with the Tales logo and the Crypt Keeper intro and outro. You thought that you were going to somehow, I don't know, I guess reignite the fandom with this, and this was not the way to go. The overall film, with the plots, with the characters were terrible. A few of them were kind of interesting. I would say the doctor just a little bit is interesting. I just don't like some of her. For example, when she questioned her driver and she was like, what the hell's wrong with you? She could be a little dumb sometimes. Aside from that, there's really no likable characters that you can resonate with or you want to basically root for in this film. Other than that, I basically see it as a cash grab. I give all credit due to Jack Wall, John Kassir, Van Snowden's puppeteer team for trying to basically use the Crypt Keeper to kind of basically reignite the Tales franchise with this, but they picked the wrong movie to do it if they were going to do that. So that's just my opinion.
All right, Mando.
Yeah, I was not a fan of this. I was about 45 minutes in. I'm like, this has to be almost over, right? And I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, I'm only 45 minutes in. And this movie's gone pretty much nowhere. Uh Also a lot of weird choices in this. And you can definitely tell without even if you didn't know what year this was made in and you grew up in that era, you could definitely tell when it was made because it has those MTV style edits where it almost and I hate it. I hate those quick jump cuts that because they overuse it. It's way overdone and it's very distracting from the rest of the movie. I feel a lot of the performances, they had some good actors and the performances still weren't good. As in, I think a lot of them were just phoning it in. It was just like, all right, I'm getting paid to go to Jamaica and do this movie and whatever. Yeah, the script wasn't good. The directing wasn't good. Um, I can't say really it was in focus. I think it was in focus. I'll give it that. The soundtrack wasn't good. And also, like, I always hate whenever they take Jamaica. Yes, does Jamaica have poverty? Sure, it does. We have poverty here in the U.S. too, and I hate that's what they highlighted about the country. Is it highlighted it being a poor country? They're constantly talking about how bad this country is, and it's kind of almost uncomfortable, especially at the beginning with all the machetes. Like, it's almost saying like, "Oh, look, there's a bunch of everyone has a machete here, obviously, because they're a savage country." I didn't like that. I thought that was kind of really I don't think that would fly in 2023, and nor should and it shouldn't have flown back then. So overall, like I'm just gonna say, like there was Tim Curry. Tim Curry was the one redeeming fact in this because it's always fun to see Tim Curry on screen, but like Jonathan said, like there's nothing redeeming about the characters because they're fucking idiots. Like how do you root for an idiot? They were all just so dumb and doing the dumbest decisions. And it's like, how do I ever get behind any of you? I want you all to fail. I want you to become a zombie. I want you to accidentally fall in the grave with them. Is there a way like a plague can just wipe out the entire main cast? Like everyone else can be cool. They can all live, but the main cast I wanted to die. It is so all in all, yeah, man, just don't no one should watch this movie. Just give it just walk away.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in. This might be the worst thing with the Tales name on it. I was recording a segment with Al Katz and Gil Adler earlier today talking about You Murderer.
Name drop.
And well, the reason why I'm name dropping that is because I mentioned that they made a joke about how bad Bordello Blood is. I'm like, guys, I'm recording later tonight to talk about this movie Ritual with that they slapped the name on, and I would watch Bordello Blood any day of the week over this movie.
Bordello Blood at least had enough fun stuff in it to where, and I mean, you went on a whole podcast where people were actually defending the movie. I would not think that people would defend this movie.
No. Yeah, but it makes Bordello Blood look great in comparison. Not a masterpiece or anything, but still, like there's so many.
It's the greater evil.
Yeah, there's just so many like scenes that don't make any sense. Like that, like Jody said, there's that scene on the beach where nothing really happens. It's just they want to get a shot on the beach and they want to get another shot of Jennifer Grey walking into the water with clothes on and just getting wet. And there's just like characters kind of disappear randomly, and like I don't know what happened to Tim Curry's character. Did I like gloss over it? Did he just disappear? Did he have any resolution to that character?
The superintendent stabbed him with a scalpel.
So yeah. I totally missed that scene. I don't know if I was like looking at my phone for like a second.
Because it was very unexpected, because they're having a conversation just kind of saying, hey, you haven't given me what I asked for yet. He goes, just hang tight, give me time. And the guy just starts murdering him. Like doesn't even, it was kind of like, okay, we have to tack this on because Tim Curry can't film past 12 o'clock today.
Right.
We have to get rid of his character.
Come on, let's speed it up. Come on, let's go.
If there's one thing I would say, there's some quality actors in this movie that are nice to look at, I guess, but even then they don't have anything to say or do that is at all engaging. The effects and the editing, I kind of give a slight pass to just because of the era it was in. It's like I really like Freddy versus Jason. I really enjoy that movie. But yeah, the music and the editing, that fast cuts and some of that weird slow motion is very of the time. And I don't love it, but I give it a pass because that's just the style that was in vogue at the time. So
I would argue though to say the editing of Freddy versus Jason was still in the direction, was still more solid, still less.
Yes, I'm just saying like as far as evaluating like film of the time. So I tend to give that stuff a little bit of a pass, but it just doesn't do anything to help this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I would say in comparison to that film with Freddy versus Jason, like for example, the Freddy Caterpillar, like that kind of CGI versus what we saw in Ritual. Like Rituals is complete crap versus that. And obviously, like you said, this is part of the time, part of that era. So obviously that plays a little bit of leeway,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm
I
saying.
mean, to be fair, Freddy versus Jason probably had a budget. I don't
Yeah, it had
know
a
if
lot
this
more
one did.
yeah, yeah.
Respect that.
I will give props to the scene towards the beginning where the doctor melts.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a cool scene. I was like, okay, there could be something fun happening here. But every time something cool happens and they quote undo it as a vision, it's just like a kick in the pants. You're just like,
Yeah, yeah, no sense.
it's like one step forward, 50 steps back. Like something cool happens. Nope, didn't actually happen. Has no impact on the plot. You're like, fuck you.
It was a heart attack.
Yeah. And that Crypt Keeper scene again, it wasn't. I don't know if I'm happy or mad that it wasn't in the version I watched, because I just wanted to see how it integrated with the rest of the movie. But it is the worst Crypt Keeper segment of all time.
Oh,
It
no.
is. It's not funny. It's borderline offensive in many ways. It's like, oh, it's the puppet looks like crap. Again, he's just like sitting. We're used to him being in the crypt and being dark, atmospheric. He was just like sitting by a pool. It's just it's everything about it is just wrong.
Well, and they can do that. They can make the Crypt Keeper be goofy, right? But even when you watch a show, even in some of the episodes we've watched recently that weren't very good, it still has the same spirit of the Crypt Keeper,
Yes,
and this did not.
right.
And
I compare this Crypt Keeper to like you wanted Bill Murray in your movie, but you couldn't afford him, so you got his brother Joel, and so it's like, okay, he's part of the family, but not really. This is like the Crypt Keeper's cousin,
Yeah. Like
That's attributed to the fact that Crypt Keeper puppet right there is created by Van Snowden's puppeteer team. Van Snowden was originally part of Kevin Yeager's puppeteer team, and when the show had ended, eventually the puppet had to be used for Secrets of the Crypt Keeper's Haunted House game show, and then Kids WB, FearNet segments. That pretty much segued into the fact that Kevin Yeager was no longer doing anything with the Chucky franchise or Tales from the Crypt at that point. So Jack Wall Productions and Tales from the Crypt were trying to figure out, okay, how can we get the Crypt Keeper running again? And they enlisted Van Snowden for that. And Van Snowden and his team created this.
I can give them a pass for a subpar puppet if the writing was good, if the gags were good, if the jokes were good. I can give a pass to the puppet, but there's just the spirit and the humor just were not there whatsoever. It was. Yeah. I'm a little surprised that John Kassir agreed to do this. I don't know if he's like under contract or they just gave him a ton of money, but it's just like, or maybe they didn't give him the script beforehand. I can't blame him, but I'm also like, oof. It was just.
I mean,
actors take crappy roles.
Yeah.
If they say this guy you've originated is going to be in a movie, and we either cast you or get somebody else to do it,
I'm sure he feels. Yeah, I'm sure he feels ownership over the character. It's just, and I don't blame him. It's just, oof. I feel almost embarrassed on his behalf.
Nah, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, being in Hollywood and being an actor or a voice actor is just like any of us, right? We've all done stuff at our jobs we didn't want to do because we can't tell, because we all need a paycheck to survive on. So like, I'll never fault an actor or an actress for taking a shitty role when it means a paycheck. I think Christian Bale once said like he'll do almost at that time. He's like, I'll do almost any role because my kids have to eat. Like, and I respect it. And you never know. You never know when your career is going to be gone. At that point, Tales wasn't around anymore. I'm not sure how much work he was getting, and the opportunity to jump back into the character might have been appealing.
That's true. It's I guess we're just so used to the quality of writing that like Al and Gil put into that, and this is just nowhere near.
And who knows? Like he's even given a script, and who knows? Maybe, like you said, and maybe he was given a script, and it was a rewrite. Who knows? Yeah.
And in Kassir's case, he's very passionate in regards to the Tales franchise and to the fans. So like when he's offered the opportunity to play the role of the Crypt Keeper again, he loves to do it for us too. Yeah. And he's synonymous with the Crypt Keeper, so he knows it's like how can you guys expect a Nightmare on Elm Street film without Robert Englund? You know what I'm saying? Like he is iconic for that. So like when it comes to that kind of opportunity, of course he's gonna take it. But then at the same time, when it comes to this film being made adding these Crypt Keeper segments. You also don't have Kevin Yeager on board behind it. You don't have Al
Right.
Katz and Gil Adler writing for the film or for the segments, because Kevin Yeager always for the most part he directed every single Crypt Keeper segment.
Well, towards the
So-
beginning, I know Gil took over for
Yeah.
after a while, but yeah, they kind of split
Great,
those.
right?
I mean,
all right.
John Kassir did do the Crypt Keeper voice for us for a cameo, like
No, I don't. I
the
don't
man
fault
the man
him.
likes doing the voice.
No,
still.
I don't fault him for that. It's just every time I see or think about that, I just get depressed.
Yeah.
It's just sad. All right, let me do a bit of a talent rundown. Then Jody, we'll get to you. I'm trying to give you a nice long
Okay,
break.
that's fine. Yeah, since I'm the one kind of semi-positive.
Okay, so this was directed by Avi Nesher, who is a very well-acclaimed Israeli director. He's like one of the biggest directors out of Israel. He did a movie called Doppelganger with what's her name? Drew Barrymore, Raw Nerve. Right before this, he's done a lot of international movies. Obviously, we have Jennifer Grey, known for Red Dawn, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Dirty Dancing. She's also winner of Dancing with the Stars.
Ooh.
And this is where things get a little more interesting. We have Craig Sheffer as Paul Claiborne. He was in Nightbreed. A River Runs Through It, Fire in the Sky, that football movie, The Program, Hellraiser Inferno, One Tree Hill. It was also in American Horror Stories as Richard Nixon. Let's see.
Very interesting career there.
Yeah, no, really interesting career. And then we have Daniel Lapaine, who's Wesley Claiborne. He was in Double Jeopardy, Zero Dark 30, and some Black Mirror episodes. Kristen Wilson plays Caro. She was in Dr. Dolittle 1, 2, and 3, the Eddie Murphy versions, the 2000s Dungeons and Dragons. And I think one of her last credits was Mega Python versus Gatoroid. And then, of course, we have
Gatoroid sounds like some kind of gator hemorrhoid thing. I don't know what kind of.
I love those movies
Gatoroid.
because like, all right, we have a shark and a gator. Quick, add prefixes, add suffixes and prefixes, and we'll figure this movie out.
Right. And then we have Tim Curry, obviously, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Clue, It, Congo, Legend, Tales from the Crypt, Death of Some Salesman, icon.
I still feel like he did this as a favor to somebody.
Yeah, there's gotta be some story behind that. That
Or you
we'll
mentioned
probably
earlier,
never
but
hear.
maybe just you want to go Jamaica? Yeah, why not? We'll pay you to come to Jamaica and hang out. Yeah, why not?
I would take that offer.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You got RDM and everything.
And then we have the doctor from the beginning, again, the one who like kind of melts but doesn't. He's a great character. I love it when this guy shows up. His name is Erick Avari. He was in Star Trek, Next Generation, DS9, and the Enterprise. He was in Encino Man, Stargate, Independence Day. He was on episodes of Babylon 5. He was in the movie The Mummy. He was on The West Wing, The 13th Warrior, Planet of the Apes, The X-Files, and the Daredevil movie. He's just a guy, you show up, I'm like, oh, okay.
The mummy is definitely the main thing I know him from, because
Yeah.
I recognize his face immediately. He's one of those guys though that's been in so many things
Mhm.
that when I try to figure out what I know him from, the list is too long.
Yeah,
Right. And he's also like that vaguely ethnic type where like his IMDb states on this trivia that he's played over 20 different ethnicities. And there's a lot of other people in this movie. Like, I just can't list everything, but yeah, not a terrible cast. A director that definitely has talent, but I don't know what the hell happened. Oh, and one of the writers, this is interesting, is Rob Cohen. And he directed like Stealth and Dragonheart, if you remember that, Bruce Lee, a Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie. And he also wrote he executive produced The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is actually a very good
A much better
Caribbean voodoo movie with Bill Pullman. I always get them mixed up. So that's a far better version of this movie.
Yeah, the only
That's
other
Wes
cast
Craven. Is that
What's
Wes
that?
Craven directed that?
Yeah. Wes Craven did Serpent and the Rainbow. The only other person I like in the cast that I instantly recognized was the guy who was like at the hospital, the chief of the unit or whatever, Stephen Tobolowsky, I think is his name. He was in Groundhog Day as the guy who like greeted Bill Murray every day and a bunch of other stuff too. He's just one of those guys who's in everything.
We should watch Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I
Maybe
do
we
like
will.
Groundhog Day.
He has. I was looking at his IMDb. He has a crazy ass life. He helped David Bryan of Talking Heads write the song Radiohead, which Radiohead got their name from. He was also supposedly stabbed twice in 1 week.
Fuck.
Like one time, like at a bar, and then at the restaurant next to it. Totally
Okay.
different days, totally different situations.
If you get
You should
stabbed
go
twice
to a
in week-
different area.
Yeah, I'm not saying he deserved it, but he did something. Like there's something.
Yeah,
wrong
he's
there.
gotta be problematic.
Again,
He's gotta be.
If I go to a bar and I get
supposedly-
stabbed, I'm not gonna go like hang out at the restaurant next door in the same week. I'm like, give it a month.
I'm just saying, supposedly somebody was harassing his wife or his girlfriend at the time, and he was trying to jump in. But one of the times, it hit his belt buckle, and the other time it just glanced him. But still,
Oh man,
that's
they try
crazy.
they try to stab him in the dick. That's that's terrible.
All
No
right,
bucks.
Jody. Now that we've sufficiently bashed this movie, let's hear what you got.
I'm not going to defend this movie because everything you all said is true. Like everything you said is true. It is by far the worst Tales from the Crypt property. But just as like, so this was not intended to be Tales from the Crypt. So in my brain, I have to kind of separate this out from the rest of things just because they stick a name on it. Again, if this was a direct-to-video movie, I randomly stumbled across, I see, I read the back of it and see the cast, and I'm like, okay, there's some good people in here. I love Tim Curry. Always happy to see him and some stuff. Take it home and watch it. It wouldn't be a terrible time. Like, it's not for a cheap direct-to-video movie, I've seen much, much worse. Like, this is not offensively bad. It's just cheap and low budget, and people are phoning it in. I think if it didn't have the Tales name on it, it would be just forgettable. But because it's got Tales on there, people like us have to watch it because we torture ourselves to include everything. But
If it
like
wasn't a Tales movie, no one would be talking about. We wouldn't be talking
Yeah.
about it, right? Like
no,
no
because
one
it would have been
watching this
100% forgotten. Like it was
Yeah.
just a random cheap direct-to-video movie. There's a million of them. Like I remember walking through the video stores as a teenager and a college student, and they were filled with movies that no one had ever heard of and no one would ever think about again after watching them. And you put them on as filler. You want to see a little blood and guts, and in this one you got one really good gore scene, and it was really good. Like I honestly think the doctor's death where he melts, because first it gets hot and he starts like his skin starts bubbling, and there's big like they do that bladder effect, where his skin's like swelling and popping. It's a great gore scene. I don't think the actors were really that bad in this. Like there could have been much, much worse. Jennifer Grey's a good actress. Her character is not super well written, but I thought she did a good job. I thought the other people did a good job in it.
I should probably more say my criticism of the acting probably has a lot to do with just the poorness of the script.
Yeah, it's more the script than anything, I think.
Like what they're giving. Like when you're given that bad of material, it's really hard to.
When you have
Much
crappy
underneath
lines,
that.
it's hard to act them well, So I again, I'm not going to defend this in any way, but I didn't completely hate it. Like if it hadn't been a Tales thing, I think I'd have a higher opinion of it. I don't like that Tales got dragged into this because it had no reason to be. It could have just existed on its own without the Crypt Keeper. But I've watched much worse. This was just forgettable. It was more forgettable than anything. It was not offensive. Like I have watched movies that I've left with just a nasty taste in my mouth. Instead, I'll probably forget everything about this movie in a week. So like it's not going to be something that sticks with me. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, Ritual. That was the bad Tales movie. I think it had Tim Curry in it. That's what I'm going to remember in a month. Even though I took all these notes. So yeah, there are much worse things coming out direct to video at the time. I wish they hadn't stuck a Tales name on it. But just as far as like if we were a podcast that reviewed cheap direct to video movies from the late 90s and early 2000s, it'd probably be fine. Like I'd put it up there as like, yeah, it was a pretty decent time. But when we stick Tales on it, that obviously drags the whole franchise down, and so I don't like that about it.
Yeah,
I remember I'm the one who liked Bordello too, so I'm easy to please.
You know, I mean, compared to like most of the other Tales films and whatnot, Bordello for me is kind of like a little bit more of a guilty pleasure. It's not good, but I enjoy it for what it is, despite the production issues, you know, Dennis Miller problems, and pretty much all the cast issues, whatever the case may be. But it goes back to what you and Armando were talking about when it came down to the fact, like, we wouldn't be talking about this film if it wasn't for the fact that it had the Tales logo on it. Like, it brings me back to when 2002 was still fresh. And a little bit before that, I was kind of already on the whole hook about the film because I don't know if you guys know, there's a diehard Crypt fan named Crypt Keeper 1225. His name's Ian. He used to run this old GeoCities website for Tales from the Crypt. And back in like 2000, 2001, I was always frequently on it. And he would post like these little mini posters of the film in its production, showing stills of it and talking about voodoo and, you know, how it's supposed to be a replacement for Dead Easy or Fat Tuesday. And then eventually, I mean, obviously I paid attention to it because I was like, I want another film. And then when 2002 rolled around and they finally announced it to be on DVD, straight to DVD or video, then I saw the Crypt Keeper's image in like the top left corner of the cover. Obviously, I'm enticed to buy it and find out. And, you know, is it a legit Tales film? And obviously at that age, I think it was like 12, 13 years old, I didn't know better. So I was just like, the Crypt Keeper's there, the Crypt Keeper's there. This is a Tales film. Going back to it now, it does not hit. It just does not hit.
I just remember, you know, being in, I guess I would have been right after college or right around college. I used to rent a ton of movies. Like that was Friday night. Like I would go and rent 4 or 5 movies. I loved my Hollywood Video. I'd rent stuff I had never heard of just based on covers and stuff. And 90% of them I do not remember in any way. And then I'd run across one that was actually like memorable. Like I'd pick up Laid to Rest in the midst of picking up, you know, some like 8 Films to Die For, or, you know, some Dark Sky. Like there was a bunch of shitty movies. There was a bunch of, you know, crappy movies, okay movies, forgettable movies. And this would have fallen right in there if it hadn't had that Crypt Keeper up in the like corner pasted in.
I think for some reason back then it was more of a charm to dig in through all those movies, because now there's so much content at our fingertips, and you know we're all busy people. And I look at it, I think I get more angry now when I watch terrible films, because I have so much good stuff and good content out there I want to watch, and I'm behind, or shows I'm behind on, or movies I want to see, and I'm going to spend an hour. And why was it an hour and 45 minutes?
It was too long.
Yeah,
it was.
I don't want to spend an hour and 45 minutes watching bad content.
Yeah, I think Jonathan said it really well. That like, I would definitely say Bordello could be a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
What the biggest sin a movie can make for me is being boring. Like you can be bad, but at least be entertaining. But being bad and boring, that's just grating on me.
Dennis Miller's terrible, but he's fun to laugh at and fun to like. It's fun to slap your head and be like, "What the fuck was this guy thinking?" Is it good? No, but that movie doesn't make me physically angry, or doesn't make me like. Well, I don't think I wasted my life when I watch that movie.
Yeah.
I remember The Hunt at the time. You know, like. Most of the movies I watched were pretty crappy, and then occasionally there'd be a gem. This isn't one of them. This is one of the crappy ones that, you know, I forgot that I ever watched. But, you know, there are much worse movies out there.
I will concede there's much worse, but yeah,
it's not good. Like, I'm not defending it. It's just, you know, my standards are low.
I can definitely attest to what you're saying, Jody. It's just like, but for me, it's like, it's a bad movie, and obviously in comparison, there are worse movies out there. But for me, it's like, yes, it's a bad movie, but it's one that I will never waste my time truly watching. If I had a choice between that movie and another, I'm always going to pick the other.
Yeah.
You know? So
I'm never watching this again, unless Jason makes us. But I'm not, like, otherwise, I'm not watching this movie.
If you strap me to a chair and ask if I'd rather watch this or Nothing But Trouble, I'd have to think about it.
I am offended. There is an opening on this podcast, Jonathan.
I mean, we are at some point watching Nothing But Trouble.
I know. I do
sorry,
feel like we should.
Even that movie, Dan Aykroyd saved that movie too.
Man, I like that movie. That movie's fun.
Okay, it's been like at least 20 years since I've seen that. So I guess I would give it another watch just to give it a try. Maybe in 20 years, I'll give this movie another watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So someone mark
like
it
this.
down. In 20 years, remind me to watch this movie.
In 20 years, I will watch it again because I will have forgotten that I watched
Yes.
it. Because I won't remember a damn thing about it.
All right. I think we've beaten this dead horse. Let's move on to our ratings 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. Half points. Jonathan.
1.
1. Mando.
You know what? I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 1.5 because Tim Curry.
I'm giving you the 1 because of Tim Curry.
Yeah, the 1 was Tim Curry.
The 1 was Tim Curry for me.
I mean, and Jody did sway me a little bit, mainly because that melting scene was freaking cool.
Yeah.
But I hate to say it, the movie was bad enough to where by the end of the movie, I forgot that scene even existed until you recapped it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jody.
So as the most positive one on this one, I'm giving it a 2. Like that. I mean, when I say positive, we're talking real loose.
It's all grades of
Yeah.
Jody's optimistically negative.
Yeah, I'm optimistically 4 out of 10, like solidly failing, but not failing as bad.
All right. Obviously, no Uncle Al this week. I will say, because I can't help myself. I did go to IMDb and email some of the producers that worked on this movie, but it's cons, or at least cons just ended. So most of them were out of the office. Maybe we'll get a response and maybe we won't. And if we get something, maybe we'll put something together. But for now, that's all she wrote about this movie. Mando, give us our song of the day.
Alrighty. So after I watch this, I'm like, all right, I just need to listen to something that makes me happy, because this movie really kind of made me very sad. So I'm gonna pick a song by an Irish band, a little Celtic kind of folk metal band from the great country of Ireland, called Primordial. Primordial is an interesting band because I think that the front man started the band when he was like 16, and they're still going strong today. When I say 16, I think it was like an 89 or somewhere around there when we were all actually young. And later on, it was started off as very black metal, very death metal, very angry and evil sounding, and then over the years kind of really shifted the band to be more of more folk inspired. They tell a lot of stories or albums, still some little bit of growling here and there, but mostly clean singing. And the guy, the frontman's a really great singer. So the song I picked it's kind of a somber song, but like just the intro riff, it just gets you going and makes you happy. So the song is called Where Greater Men Have Fallen, off the same record, Where Greater Men Have Fallen, from their 2014 record of the same name, which I just said. And check it out. It's some really, really good metal.
Thank you, Mando. Jody, do we have any news, or are we going to skip it this week? I'm okay if we do.
We can do a little bit of news, just a couple quick things. Renfield is going to be coming out on Blu-ray soon, DVD, all that fun stuff. And one of the editions that is coming out is the Dracula Sucks Edition Blu-ray, with 60 minutes of bonus features.
Damn,
and
nice.
I really enjoyed Renfield.
I know. I like it too.
So yeah, give me more of this. If we got some alternate takes, deleted scenes, stuff like that, Nick Cage caging it up, like that will make me happy. I enjoy that a lot. We got a movie coming out this summer called Cocaine Crabs from Outer Space. Just like saying it, don't know a thing about it, but Cocaine Crabs from Outer Space.
Spree with all the
no post Cocaine Bear. We're getting a lot of cocaine movies. I think Cocaine Shark is officially a movie. I read something about it the other day. So if you're an aspiring screenwriter, pick an animal, add cocaine, movie writes itself, right? Like it's just there. Cocaine squirrel, cocaine deer,
cocaine
cocaine Gatoroid.
Gatoroid.
That's what you get if you take cocaine that way. We're getting a 4K of the movie Nightbreed that we mentioned earlier. Nice. Clive Barker classic. I don't know which version though, because there's like the director's cut and a bunch of other cuts. I didn't get into the details, but I always like 4Ks being released. And finally, very small thing, but one that I will waste hours and hours of my life on. Diablo 4 will be officially coming out on June 6th. I played the open beta when it was released a month or so ago. It's fun. I like the Diablo games. I'll need something to move on to once I finish Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So Diablo will fill that void for me in my heart. Not as much as Zelda will, but it's still good stuff. I enjoy killing massive amounts of monsters and upgrading my material and getting cool looking armor. That's Diablo. That's what it is. I understand a lot of people might not like that, but if you're the kind of person it's made for, you're probably gonna have a good time with this one.
Speaking of video games, there was a big announcement last week that Mortal Kombat 1 is coming out. I don't know if you saw that.
They released just the they only released the like a trailer, no gameplay trailer, but it's like basically Liu Kang as a fire god has started a whole new realm and crazy shit.
Okay.
It looks really cool. I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. So
me too.
I like Mortal Kombat.
Likewise.
Yep. The only thing that keeps me from being a huge Mortal Kombat player is I suck at it. Like, it's a hard game to figure out all the moves on.
Dude, when I play it now, I play it on easy mode, just have a good time, just kill them. The computer, and it looks like too. There's also rumored that some of the secret characters, 2 of them are going to be Homelander and Peacemaker, which could be really freaking cool. They've always done really cool. I mean, they've done the Terminator, they've done Freddy, Jason, Leatherface. Speaking of Leatherface, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but I was part of the technical test for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game. Only got a chance to play a handful of games, but everything I played about it, I think it's gonna be very enjoyable. Granted, it's very, very early stage. It's not coming out till October. But what I got to play of it, I just want to say it's very promising.
Nice.
Legit, like some scary stuff in there. Like, it's kind of creepy when you're playing as the survivors. You're trying to get out of the basement, and you can just hear the chainsaw like faintly. It's like, oh god damn it, it's coming for me.
I like that. What I will say though is that I'm waiting for the day that NetherRealm Studios drops a horror fighting game on us, a horror movie monster fighting game on us. But I mean, since like the last few games, they've had Freddy, Jason, Alien, Predator, Terminator, all these different characters from different properties. I'm waiting for them to drop a horror movie fighting game. So
there was someone, and you can find it on the internet. There's someone who made like a fan version of one.
That was like
Terradrome.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. And for a fan-made game, pretty awesome for a fan-made game.
Oh yeah, I still play it.
Oh, cool. Well, I haven't played them for hours since it probably came out, but
I do wish that they would come out with like a remaster, like a redo of the first Mortal Kombat or the first like 1, 2, and 3. Like, I would buy the shit out of that.
That would be nice.
Those.
2 was a sweet spot, and I always loved number 2. I mean, they had some bad games too. 3, they changed the system. 4 was, I have Mortal Kombat 4 on cartridge. I still think on the first Nintendo 64.
It's like all blocky.
They tried to go 3D with it, and actually at the time though, it was really great. I used to love in those 2 and 3, especially with the over the top fatalities, where someone would explode and they have like 6 rib cages, like 3 skulls somehow. There's always
There's one with one of the cyborgs where that literally blows up the earth.
That was
Silence.
I'm like, okay, the whole world fatality. Great.
They did cool stuff, and even the ones that the horror movie characters were in, I forgot but it's cool. Go on YouTube and look up their endings. They wrote some really cool endings for it. How Freddy's goal was to pull the real world into the dream world and meld the 2 worlds together, so he'd have complete power. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. And like Shao Kahn found him in the dream world and tried to recruit him. He turned on Shao Kahn, like, or whoever the enemy was at the time. I don't think it was Shao Kahn. It was some other entity, but Quan Chi or something. Really cool game, really cool games. And they've also done these animated movies recently too.
Yeah.
One based on Scorpion and one based on the blind guy. I can't remember his name. But both, yes, Kenshi. Both really good and really violent.
Yeah. They did a good job. I don't know if you guys ever watched Mortal Kombat Legacy, but like that was a good little segue into like live action stuff.
I love those. That reptile one was dope.
Is that the show they did?
It was kind of like a YouTube web series that they had going on. It's like it's called Legacy.
Oh yes, I vaguely remember that now. I can't tell you anything about it, but now I want to go look it up.
I think you would enjoy it. You know, especially because like I think it was back when Mortal Kombat 9 and 10 were pretty much out at that time, and that's when they were making those. But because like everyone was hungering for a new Mortal Kombat movie at that time, and that's when Kevin Tancherone made the Mortal Kombat Rebirth concept trailer for a movie.
Oh, cool.
And everyone were like everyone, and then was like hungering for a movie, and then he partnered up with Warner Brothers to make a like YouTube web series for a bit. So
that's awesome. Cool. And if you on YouTube right now, actually someone spliced them all together, so it's a 2.5 hours, and they'll just show you everything in a row. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I wish with horror games right now, Mando, was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is it an asymmetric kind of thing again, like where there's a lot of good guys and like one bad guy, and you have to kill him?
No. So you basically, you're not. It's not just Leatherface you're up against. You're up against the hitchhiker, the cook,
Okay.
Leatherface, and what you're doing is if you're on the Hewitt, I guess the Hewitt family, if you want to call them that. I don't know. I'm just gonna call them the. They don't call them that in the game. I forgot they called them. But you're trying to get blood, and you can find blood, and you can kill people and get their blood, and you're trying to feed it to Grandpa. Because when Grandpa gets back to full power, he doesn't hunt anybody, but then you can see where people are on the map, and you can hear them better. And so they have a lot of really, really cool concepts of it. And I'm not going to say anything negative. I'll never say anything about negative about a game in beta or alpha, because the main issues I ran into was not kind of knowing what to do as a survivor and feeling very underpowered as a survivor. But I also don't know how much of that was me just not knowing how to play the game, really. So,
sure.
But I had fun. I played, again, probably 4, maybe 5 matches and had a good time. But but I like the fact that it's not just one enemy, because one of the if you play Friday the 13th, it was really cool playing as Jason, but it was really hard to kill everybody.
Right. Yeah, that's my one thing I wish from horror games right now is, you know, we've had like the Friday the 13th game, the Evil Dead game, there's even a Puppet Master one. Like those are all fun, but I want a single player campaign on some of these. Like I want to be like a camper trying to survive Jason and like have a story and stuff. Like that would be cool. I'm not really like an online multiplayer kind of player most of the time. Yeah. Like I'm playing Zelda right now because I can play it whenever I want. I don't have to worry about other people. So that's what I really want. I want someone to take these classic characters and somehow like make a single player game, because maybe I just antisocial or whatever. I don't know. But that's really what I need. That's the kind of game I'm missing.
Yeah, what I read, and I don't know if they're gonna do it, but I thought I remember they were gonna do a single player version of Texas Chainsaw of the game. Okay. And I really hope it do, because I'm like you, Jody. Like, I'll be honest, as much as I had fun as I had playing it, I'm not buying it. Like, I'm not. It's just not my type of game to where I really have a good time with it. I brought the Friday the 13th game, think I'd have a great time with it. And a couple times I got in groups where we killed Jason, and that was cool. But for the most part, like, I don't need some 13-year-old kid calling me a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a motherfucker technically, but if you fully put it, we're all a bunch of motherfuckers over here.
Context.
but I don't need a small kid like insulting my family, so it's just not fun to me. Like, even when I would play Call of Duty online, I liked it because I could play one match here or there, but I would turn off chat, turn off voice. I just want to relax and play a game and have a good time. Like, I don't need people to rely on me to do something.
I mean, that's even how I played like Fortnite and stuff like that. I'm like, I played because my kids were into it, and I would turn off the chat immediately. Like, I don't want to hear from anybody. I just want to play the game.
Yeah, so it's I get you there. Like, and I think even Evil Dead recently, I think they're supposed to have a single player version of their game come out.
I think so. Yeah, I think maybe that's coming.
Because
I'm very interested in all these games, but I just don't play them because I don't want to play multiplayer.
Even with Friday the 13th, I would play because you could play with bots. And that was actually really fun because the bots were just stupid. So you could just run around and just kill them. And that was actually kind of cool. But I would like a narrative, though, behind it. Like, even if you are Jason, like, give me, I have to accomplish these tasks or whatever.
Well, like, apparently in the Friday the 13th game, there is like some story stuff. Like, you can find these tapes and like there's stuff. But like, I just want that to be the game, like finding tapes and doing stuff.
But the negative in that too.
Something similar to that in the Evil Dead game. Like, they actually have story and campaign modes where you can actually just run.
Oh, they do have campaign.
Oh, there is a campaign now?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll make me get into it. And
yeah, I was about to say, you just pushed me into it.
Yeah, so Friday the 13th, you would get these little things. They have these really cool homages to the movie that you wanted to take time to say, oh, this is really cool. But you can't because you have this fucking player-controlled Jason trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Just to segue a little bit more, with horror gaming with Tales from the Crypt. I don't know if I kind of got into this earlier, but John Kassir, when I actually talked to him about the PC game in the Q&A panel, I kind of transitioned into a secondary question where I asked him, if you were able to reprise the role for the Crypt Keeper into a modern game, would you be willing to ever possibly work for a company like Supermassive Games when it comes to the Dark Pictures anthology? I don't know if you guys ever played those games.
Yeah,
but
love them.
like it would be great to see a game like that in that nature, similar to what the original PC game was supposed to be like, but with the Crypt Keeper narrating what was going on in between segments and chapters. I think that would be great to see if John Kassir was able to reprise that role, and if they got him on board.
Now, first, I thought you were saying Crypt Keeper as a Mortal Kombat DLC.
With like the story mode, you like when you finish a trial for a character and you complete the game with that character, you hear somebody narrating what's going on. I think that'd be great to see the Crypt Keeper doing that kind of stuff. But
well, even like it'd be kind of cool to even have it be, you could totally do it like comic book style, and he's your narrator as you're going through these different like like anthologies of a game, and then eventually it wraps it up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something of that nature.
It's cool. I like that.
All right, Jody, anything else?
No, that's all I got this time. And by the time this releases, that'll all be old news. But there's something to look for. Go play Diablo. Go watch those movies.
And hopefully by the time this releases too, the Golden Knights will be up in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll see. This could age poorly.
All right. For dad advice, I did a quick Google search on 9 ways to stop sweating so much in honor of this movie from sweatblock.com.
Take a knee, drink water.
Yeah, no, number 1, use strong antiperspirants. But it also says to make sure you use it at night. So number 2 is apply antiperspirant correctly. Apply at night before sleep. Make sure skin is clean and dry. Remove body hair to get better skin contact.
Oh yeah, dude. Like if you don't shave your armpits, you should. Like it's so awesome. Like they feel nice. They don't trap sweat. They don't trap odor. It's great stuff. Yep, good man.
Yeah.
Good man. I mean, you should shave like body hair in general. Like the more body hair you get rid of, you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot cleaner, smells a lot better.
Yep.
I'm just saying, man, like that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Go to manscaped.com/dads. No, I'm just kidding. That's not gonna work.
That's promo code right there. Promotion.
Okay. Dress smart, sweat less. Dress in light, breathable fabrics with ample ventilation. No kidding. Don't wear your wool socks. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. Manage diet to control sweat. So stay hydrated. Avoid spicy foods.
I'm not gonna avoid spicy foods.
Cut down caffeine-loaded coffee and energy drinks.
I'm supposed to avoid caffeine and spicy foods.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I haven't drank today. I drank my first cup of coffee in like 3 weeks, and you want to know what? It wired me like a motherfucker. It was amazing. I'm like, oh, this is how you're supposed to feel when you drink caffeine.
Man, I was drinking coffee. I was drinking coffee at 7:00 tonight, man. Like, I'm just feeling good.
See.
All I'm saying
my
is,
life.
you reset your caffeine intake every now and again. Man, it's nice.
All right, take vitamin B. It does also say cut down on deep fried, fatty processed foods. Avoid fast foods, chocolate, white bread, junk food, etc.
Enjoy and okay. So to stop sweating, stop eating enjoyable food. Don't enjoy spices and quit drinking coffee.
Dude, as a man that's got diagnosed as diabetic, that's my life now, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I don't know what to say about that, considering like me and my wife, we kind of changed into a plant-based diet. She got diagnosed with something. I'm not gonna say what. It's like a little bit more private, but out of respect for her, I've been changing into a plant-based diet with her. That doesn't change shit in terms of me perspirating. I'll tell you that.
Here's my
I'm still sweating my ass off.
Well, I look at it too, and I'll say this: like, it's much easier to change your diet when your doctor's like, "Hey, do you want to die?"
Yeah,
it does help.
I do not want to die. My doctor didn't say that. I actually just got. I'll give you some dad advice: get your blood work done every year, folks. Like, please do that, because I haven't got my blood work done in like 10 years, and then I found, I am diabetic. I got to go fix this shit now. But like it's much easier though. So I'm not dying. I don't think I'm dying. I might be. I don't know. I was a preemie as a baby, so she told me I could have early heart failure too. That could be really cool. So
cool.
I'm taking this well. But but like get your blood work done. You know, it's not actually that hard. Like I was already eating pretty healthy, but now I've cut out like all kinds of carbs and shit like that. So it's been cool. But it's a lot easier to change your diet though when you know like why you need to do it rather than just like when you're just not gonna lie, when I was 300 pounds after you should eat better. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Okay. You take a bite of your burger. Yeah.
Okay. As I'm eating fucking pizza.
The next one is, I love this. Exercise regularly to reduce stress sweat. So
that's a real thing. Like if you have anxiety or stress, you tend to have clammy hands because your body will produce more. The idea behind that is, although like, okay, it's a really roundabout way to saying exercise will help with stress. That's really a roundabout way to saying that, dude. Like,
yeah, but won't that make you sweaty through the exercise?
During the exercise, but the goal is you're not sweaty when you're at work. Like you fucking take a shower right before you go. You exercise and walk into work like with sweat dripping off your fucking chest and face.
Hey, everyone in this movie did. They went to their jobs,
dude,
sweating like they had just come out of a refinery.
I've never been to Jamaica, but I'm assuming that the climate is a lot like Florida. In Florida, you can take a shower and then walk outside, and you are just like, you might as well have gone in the swimming pool. It sucks.
So I have been to Jamaica, and I remember cool ocean breezes. I do not remember being like there was no air conditioning because we didn't need it. It was beautiful.
I've never been there, so I'll take this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then here are some natural remedies to help stop sweating. Apple cider vinegar, which, you know, in small doses, it's if you can take it. Sometimes I put it in the fruit smoothie.
Sometimes I just chug the fucking bottle, like just
take it like a shot.
No,
I put it in my morning. I have a morning drink I make with beetroot extract and creatine. I put that in there. And you want to know what? Even in 24 ounces of water, still not good. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not great.
It is drinkable.
Sage tea sweating remedies. So
dude, like this is definitely a fucking paid website you're on. They're trying to sell
totally. Black tea, chamomile tea, wheatgrass, witch hazel. This is interesting. Potatoes.
Your actual backer.
Potatoes for sweating. Some claim that potatoes can absorb excess sweat on the body. Take a small piece of tomato and rub it on the sweat-prone area.
What?
Well, then you can just make French fries out of it.
What are you trying to put this on, Jason?
Sweat fries. Yeah, no. When you were saying potatoes can help, I eat potatoes a lot. It's still sweat.
Hey, you want some sea salt on your fries?
Dude, if I go to Jason's house, I'm not eating any potato products. Like
nothing salty.
I'm not gonna bother the rest because it's all.
Yeah, this is like,
that's our dad advice for the week, though.
Yeah, just my dad advice for sweating is just accept that some places you live. I live in Tennessee. It is a swamp like 6 months out of the year. You're going to sweat. If you go to Florida, you're going to sweat. You know, whatever. You just get used to it. Use deodorant. Change your clothes.
It's hot as fuck here, and everybody sweats because it's at 110 degrees. And yeah, just you can tell if someone's wearing deodorant or not. Just fucking put your deodorant on. If you're sweating, no one's gonna care if you live in a hot climate. Now, if you live like in Antarctica and you're fucking just dripping sweat, dude, then like, come on.
You might want to see your doctor. You might have thyroid issues at that point.
And we'll give a shout out to Duke Cannon for their what's it called again, Jody? The cold shower.
Yeah, they've got some good products for like deodorant and stuff like that too. I don't
got like a shower gel that has like menthol in it.
It's amazing.
So menthol shower gel is this an experience.
Ever gotten your butthole?
Yes, I'm gonna say that.
Don't get it in your butthole. But after a workout, though, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it is fantastic on 95% of your body. The other 5%, it is a nightmare.
Unless you're into that, I'm not going to judge anybody. I'm not going to kink shame.
Hey, some people, that's the highlight of their day, I'm sure.
The menthol in the butthole. Like you wouldn't take icy hot and just shove it in your ass. Like, maybe you would, but like I wouldn't.
All right. I think that wraps up another episode. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
It's an absolute pleasure being on the show again, man. Thank you for having me. And you guys can find me on Crypt Tube Incorporated on YouTube. And you can find me on Crypt Tube Incorporated on Twitter and Crypt Tube on Instagram.
Mando, did you have a final comment? I saw you.
Oh
gearing
yeah,
up.
I did. Do you ever think someone's like they woke up and their balls hurt and they put icy hot on it thinking it would help? Or if it ever been game, that really fuck your day up.
Yes.
See, I've never done that, but I did as a teenager stretch too hard one time, and like I pulled a hammy. And when that happened, that is right up in the thigh region. If you put icy hot on there, it will transfer.
Yeah.
It will move from the thigh to the rest of you, and you're gonna have a bad day.
Dude, other dad advice: you're chopping hot peppers, you got to pee. Like it's got to be hands free, or someone else has
Wash
to
your
hold it.
hands.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
or wash your hands or something.
Or wear gloves.
To answer your question, I actually did know someone back in college who actually decided to be fucking stupid and put Tiger Balm on his nuts. So, like, I had to hear it all fucking day. Oh my god, my nuts are fucking on fire. Like, well, obviously, yeah.
You caused this situation.
Put Tiger Balm on their nuts.
That guy does. I wonder if he's still doing it. Maybe like he unlocked a kink and now like he can't get off. He's got Tiger
into
Balm.
This is the only way I can bust. This is the only way I can bust.
All right.
I like two things: feet and Tiger Balm my nuts. The Quentin Tarantino story.
On that note, next week we will be covering Tales from the Crypt Season 7 opener, Fatal Caper. We appreciate everyone for listening. We would really appreciate if you give us a rating review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify. Check out our YouTube for videos of these podcasts. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Goodbye.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.